but the sale is truly made in the warm-up. One of the other major rules in selling is that one person is always in control.
A lot of salespeople shy away from because they're afraid to get bumped out.
This is the Sales is Life podcast. We're here with my dad, Vinny Rawazzi Sr. He is the author of the best-selling book, Spirituality of Success, Getting Rich with Integrity, with 35 years of recruiting, training, and motivating sales forces. And we have Jessica Magooch, aka Rawazzi, my sister, Wharton School of Business entrepreneur mentor, 20 years of experience increasing win rates and sales acceleration. And myself, Vincent, not really a sales guy, but I run an international event photo and video agency published with National Geographic, New York Times, PBS, but we do a lot of sales ourselves. So today's episode is titled People Buy from People They Like. And this is about the rapport building stage of the sales process.
It sounds simple, but 80% of people don't do it. And it sounds like a natural thing to do, but most salespeople don't do it. They go, hey, how you doing? How's the weather? Okay, so here's what we're here to talk about. They just like jump right in. And so I think it's worth talking about why people skip it. Like they probably wouldn't do that in their regular life, like meet someone at a party and just go like, kind of not ask how they're doing or check in on their life. So what about like being in the sales situation, like takes away, like makes them think this is not appropriate. So more addressing like objections to it, I think would be helpful.
Okay. I like this already. Yeah. So then let's do this. This would be your first step of the sales process, I think. And that's rapport building.
Appointment setting. Appointment setting is the first.
Well, we're jumping forward into, but I think it's really interesting. I think it's something that people do struggle with and that I notice with some photographers that I work with when they're, or that when I'm being sold to, people don't build a rapport with me before they talk about the service that they're offering. And I feel like I'm, I missed out on something or that I feel empty when we just go right to the services. Even when I'm being sold to, I want to have the rapport built with me before going into the process. Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that for this.
What a lot of people think the warm-up is all about was introducing yourself. All right, so now they finished the warm-up. No, that's not what the warm-up is for. And one of the things I told Julie last week was that a lot of people pick different spots where they say that the sale is made, but the sale is truly made in the warm-up. Before you ever show any product, company, before you talk about their customer service, before anything, because people buy from people they like, the warm-up is where that happens.
Got it.
And there's a specific thing you do in the warm-up to create rapport, which is to look for, if it's, they're in an office, if they're in their home, their business, look for something that you have in common with them.
And if you don't, you talk about the weather.
Well, the other thing, people, everybody has kids, or mostly everybody has kids.
I used to say, don't talk about sports, but then I ended up in a sports tech company. So appropriate.
You see the Eagles last night.
You had to know, like, what? In your town, it was like you had to know who won the game last night.
The Eagles last night. Yeah.
Well, that's a good question to ask, because one of the other major rules in selling is that one person is always in control. So how do you gain control? How do you know who's in control? the person who's asking the questions is the person who's in control. So even in the warm-up, you want to ask, are you a Phillies fan or a Tampa Bay fan? You know? When you look, if you can't find anything else. And then when they answer, you take over from there and say, hey, me too, blah, 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 if that's real. If
You
it's
go with
not
the
real,
team that they like.
huh?
You go with the team that they like.
No, I said you don't do it unless it's true.
Right. And this is like for people that really don't know how to start a conversation naturally. You know, this is how you could find things to talk about.
Yeah. And you know what? In B2B, it's really like the work you do before the call that will help you. So if you jump on their LinkedIn profile, you could find something interesting. I look for things that I'm genuinely interested in about them. Maybe it was something they studied or someplace they volunteer, or somewhere they worked, and start conversation from there.
Right.
So, because usually on like a LinkedIn, people will advertise what they're proud about. So, it's going to be something positive to talk about. And it shows that you're prepared and you came to the call prepared. You're not just like looking at them as a number and a target, which is probably how you felt when people like skipped the rapport and went right into the purpose of the call.
Yeah. Even if someone is selling to me, I don't care if I would like to know that you looked at my LinkedIn profile, researched who I was, found something to talk about. Even if I know that's part of your sales process. You're gonna pitch me at some point anyway. Like, at least let's talk about me for a second, or something we have in common.
Yeah.
Even I want to be put in a conversational format before going into a sale. So that's one thing that you do is, now that there's LinkedIn, you can actually look up the person, find something that is of common interest.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we went to the same college.
Virtual meeting. Yeah, you're most likely in a virtual meeting, so you don't get the same visual cues as you would in person. In person, you have those advantages where you could see something that's on their wall, maybe something they're wearing,
Good point.
where they're located. There's a lot of other visual cues that can help you start a conversation, understanding who this person is. So, Dad, I'm going to throw out some objections that some listeners might have to this. You would think it wasn't a controversial topic, but it is quite controversial if you read some of the threads out there floating around. So the first one is, not all personality types want to build rapport. For instance, like in the DISC profile, a D would be very annoyed by building rapport, and they just want to jump right into business, and that's going to help them trust you. What do you think about that?
Oh, the
Maybe
person
they
that's
shouldn't be in sales.
you're talking about, the person that's being sold to, the business.
The salesperson has to adjust regardless. The salesperson has to be malleable. They have to be able to adjust to all different personalities. Right. So what about, all this work, this, research out there about how you could have to sell to different personality types?
And let me just interject. There are times where even though I'm this person that enjoys casual conversation, where I get on the phone with someone and I literally just want to talk about, what do you do? What can you offer me? Like an editor, for example. I just want to see what you can do, and if you can get it done, because I'm on such a short timeline right now that every second counts.
And I'm sure that will be the answer to him trying to build rapport with you. Your answer is, I appreciate, you wanting to get to know each other a little better before you talk about your product, but I really don't have the time. So can we get right to the product now? And you're going to get that. You're going to get that objection from people.
Yeah, all the time.
Well,
Just
maybe
give me the
not.
price. Just give me your price. I literally that I don't need to know anything else.
Never
Give me the
happened.
rates.
Never happened.
That's a sale that's not going to be made. if you
Because
give
if I
them,
give that to you, it's over. Unless I also talk to you about the product. I don't say to you never
Yeah,
happened.
this is
or I'll
always a
never tell you.
tough
so
one.
here's something I hear often too is like, well, I judge whether or not I should build rapport based on how they answer the call. If they sound like they're really busy, then I just get right to the point. Is that a good rule to follow, or could we think of it in a different way? Is there another way to think about that?
But I don't think a salesperson should prejudge. I'd like to hear the words out of the prospect's mouth to make sure that that's exactly what you're hearing. And you're not hearing that. I'll give you an outside example, that they're just frustrated with their kids because of all the shit they just pulled. And then the phone rings.
Right.
They're going to probably act.
Their boss
very
just
abrupt.
walked
I
in
know.
and like, their boss
Just
just
ream
walked in
them
and
from
told them how they
left
got to
to
get their
right.
numbers or else, and then you call.
Right. So
Um,
I'd want to make sure of that before I prejudged anything.
Okay.
You may be the source of comfort for them, considering what they just went through 2 minutes ago.
That's a good point. When I'm in that situation and someone's trying to sell me and I just want to get something done quick, I'm usually stressed out about some deadline or pressure,
Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with the salesperson. That has just
Yeah, I'm in a mood for
it's
sure.
about what happened before they called.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could be a Ferrari salesman and the guy walks in and looks homeless. If you would prejudge him, who knows? Some people want to look that way. Maybe not homeless, but
So Vincent,
they want to look like they really can't afford the car because maybe the guy will give you a cheaper price.
right. So don't be dissuaded by, it's almost just like a negotiation tactic. You're going to act disinterested because you don't trust salespeople. So your guard's going to be up right away. And this is going to be your natural, defense mechanism until they prove that they're different. And you can prove that you're different by doing rapport, showing you did your homework,
Exactly.
and being professional about it. Vincent, I would love to take that example of you being stressed out and just needing to get an editor to fill the job. And we can, I would love to do a role play, and I'm the editor and I'm calling you, and it's the same scenario. And let's see how we can turn it
Good
around.
luck.
Hi, is this Vincent?
Yeah. Hey, Jess. Thanks for sending over your work.
Yes, I was looking into your portfolios ahead of this call, and I really love that video you did of the wedding, the Indian wedding.
All right, I'll say you already caught me off my mood.
Okay.
Just there.
Okay.
That was a really good example already. You caught me in the first sentence. It's almost like that first you have to beat me to it almost.
Mm-hmm.
You beat me to me saying, look, I don't have any time. I just need the prices. You took my guard down, and now I was like, oh, yeah, that was a fun one. Thank you for saying that, blah, blah, blah. And my mood has shifted.
Right. I mean, I was going to ask you, how did you get that drone effect or something that would get you, talking about something that you're passionate about? Actually, where I was thinking it would go is you would shut me down. And then
I wanted to, but
okay, so let's do it again, and then and shut me down anyway. So it's like, oh, I was looking at your website. I love the video about the Indian wedding. That was really impressive. How did you get that drone effect from? How do you get?
Yeah, we just you got to wake up early. Sunrises. It's brutal, but 5 a.m. Gotta wake up, gotta get that sunrise shot.
Yeah,
You don't get paid for it. You know how it is.
I do. I do know how it is. Okay, shut me down.
All right, but look, I need like I have 3 projects that are due this week, and I need our editor is out on vacation, so I'm looking for someone that can do this, super quick, really talented. So honestly, I just need to see some examples from you and get your prices, so that I can kind of like get this started as fast as possible. So can you just what is your rate for, this a 1-minute video, like the ones that we've been doing, and can you do it in 2 days?
Absolutely. It sounds like you're really stressed out. So I would love to take that stress off your shoulders, make your decision super easy today so that we can get moving and we can get that done. Definitely can do it in 2 days. As far as price, you let me know what you want to pay and I can see what I can produce within that range. Does that sound good?
Yeah. I mean, if you could give me your rates, do you have a package that you usually do for this type of thing?
Yeah, it's anywhere between 500 and 1,000 per video, depending on how in depth you want. So if you have a couple minutes, I can ask you a few more questions, make sure I understand exactly what you're looking for, make sure I'm the right person to do it, that I can do it in the time that you need. And in 5 to 10 minutes, we can determine if it's a fit or not. Does that sound good? Now I went to the pre-class.
Yeah. So well, it's going to be dependent on how good your work is. It's a little pricey. I mean, this also depends on what price range you actually are. I mean, that could fit for the certain type of person.
I just made that up. I have no idea what it is.
Yeah, no, I know. Well, yeah, but that could be like a mid-range editor. Let's say it depends on the project I'm working on. But in my head, I was thinking you're overpriced for a certain type of project. But we don't have to go over price objections right now.
No, and yeah, right. So we'll focus on rapport. But
right.
What I did was I avoided giving you I empathized with you being stressed out. I used it as a reason to make a decision quickly. I used it as the reason to make the decision at the end of this call and the reason why I needed to ask you some questions to see if it's the right fit. I also purposely did not give you a exact number. I gave you a range, a true range, because most businesses have multiple options, and services.
Right.
And truly, depending on how complex this is, I would need to charge. And if my bottom price is too high for you, then that's okay. We know right at the top of the call we're not a good match, and that's okay. Right. I, as the salesperson, I'm not gonna try to win a customer that can't afford me.
Yeah. The range is good. It immediately made my mind put you in 2 buckets of potential editors, either a mid-range or a high range, and your professionalism on the call is so different than 99% of the people I'm talking to. Yeah. And I'm blown away when I meet someone like you who is pitching me and who is let's say an editor or photographer. I'm like, the price is almost doesn't even register. It's like, I want to work with this person. I can already tell that they're a professional. Right. Their quality of work is probably really good. But beyond that, I know that I can trust them to fix things when things go wrong. There's all these things that are registering in the back of my mind about your character as someone that I want to work with to deliver the product or service that you're selling.
Awesome. And that's all the intention of building rapport.
I wish all the people that came to me were like that.
Well, that's why we're good at what we do.
Gives you an advantage as a salesperson. Only 20% of salespeople actually have a process that they're following. The rest are just winging it.
I had one guy blow my mind. He was from Bangladesh, and he was the only person. I must have done 100 interviews for video editors and things like that. And he did a Loom recording of him going through my project. You know, like we put a bid out for proposal, and then people come and you know and put their bid in or whatever. But he did a Loom video recording where he's, you know, doing like a Zoom recording, but with Loom, it turns you into a little circle at the bottom of your screen, and he's going through my website, and he's talking about my project, and he's building rapport before we even get on a call. And now I see his face, and I know I could, you know, like he's well spoken.
He's familiar already.
It blew my
Did you hire
mind.
him?
Oh,
Did you
yeah.
hire him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he
Then
did
it
2
works, right?
projects. Yeah, and he did them on time, and you know.
Well, I'll tell you what I would have done differently. Not that there's a right or wrong, because, you know, obviously all the things that she wanted to accomplish, you know, were valid. Now, where I would have differed, because I don't want you to prejudge my price being my quality of work, I would have answered that, well, that depends on how deep a project you want to get involved in. And I'd like to go through that before I gave you any idea of price, because I could charge $100. I could charge $100,000.
So you just gave a range. You did the same thing.
Well,
Right.
I guess I don't even know if I would have said that, but because I'm really against giving prices, but I'm
when
open
you're
to.
giving a range, you're qualifying on budget, which is also, I think, something that, you know, typically you would do in the appointment setting stage. But if there's no appointment conversation ahead of time, I think it's something that a lot of salespeople shy away from because they're afraid to get bumped out. But it's better, you know, if you know, either they can afford you and you continue the conversation, or they can't afford you and you ask a question like, hey, like, if, you know, we continue this conversation and you decide that it is worth it, do you want to continue this conversation? And if they want to continue the conversation, then I know there might be a little more money there because they already know what the range is.
Yeah, but if the buyer, like Vincent, was strictly involved in the number, and if you answered that question early, I was going to say, how many times have you convinced the customer to pay more than they were looking to pay because you showed the value? The value was worth more than they were willing to pay, right?
Yeah, right.
And then they decided to pay that extra, whatever it was. You know, you could qualify it by a percentage above what the price was that they had in their mind, which you would never know anyway. But you don't want to be in that abrupt position where you say 1,000 and the guy only wanted to pay 500. And he says, well, thank you, but that's a little too expensive for me. I wish you the best of luck. Goodbye. And they hang up the phone. And now you got no chance. Where, you know, if you had not set a price, then you could have used people buy from people they like, and you're worth more than 99% of the people that Vincent gets contacted by.
Right. And that's what I hope the audience takes away today. That's what I hope they take away today, is that by building rapport the way we did, like in the first part of the role play, you avoid many of those objections that you're getting now that you're worried about overcoming, because you help take down their guard and they're not attacking you with questions to disqualify you. Basically, they're looking to disqualify you quickly, so they don't waste their time either.
Also, I have, as a buyer, when I'm in the buyer position, extreme anxiety around price until it's I hear a number, and then at least then we can talk about whatever, you know. So if someone's holding on to that answer to the very end, like my anxiety is building,
Waiting.
and I also know you're avoiding it for some reason and trying to trick me or something like that. And in my experience, every time that's happened, and I did buy anyway because I literally got sold, I was so disappointed in the product. So now I have like this like distorted view on like, you know, I don't know if it's distorted, because the problem with that is it's usually the same person who also doesn't build proper rapport and
Mhm.
doesn't really want to genuinely help me or get to know my business.
So you're like, I should have. Well, that's an interesting point, because it's just another component that comes into the sales process that buyers don't trust themselves, let alone the salespeople. Like they don't trust
Oh,
themselves to make the
for
right.
sure, for
So
sure.
that's coming into play in this like scenario here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've wasted, no, I wouldn't say, yeah, I've wasted a considerable amount of money on coaching programs and things like that because I didn't, yeah, I didn't trust them and I didn't trust myself. I did it anyway.
Yeah, but you
But
also take the trust you don't have for yourself and you project that onto the salesperson too.
yeah, right.
So
So the next person
not
coming,
only
I'm
the
gonna be
Yeah, the
salesperson,
next person suffers from
right.
that salesperson's.
you get hit from both sides because you'll never admit to yourself, I don't trust myself. Or it may even not even
Right.
come into your mind. So it's one of those subconscious things.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
want to put the
another
blame on
reason-
them first.
It's actually another reason why people don't want to build rapport as buyers, because they're like, I don't want to make friends with this person and then get sold something that's not right for me. I've done that in the past and it hit me in the butt. So I'm going to keep this like, very professional.
Yeah, and yeah, and I can tell off the bat, like there is something to be said for being genuine, building genuine rapport, and just doing it for the sale, because
No,
I
it
can
should-
tell.
It should always be genuine, Vince.
Yeah,
Always. It always has to be genuine because buyers can tell. That's
right.
exactly one of the underlying themes throughout every step of the sales process is that 85% of the sale, remember, people buy from people they like. 85% of what helps them make that decision is your nonverbals. They don't listen to what comes out of your mouth. They listen with their eyes. They don't listen with their ears. Because salespeople will say anything to make the sale, right? But while the salesperson's busy talking, they're busy watching, right? Because when a salesperson isn't telling the exact truth, they'll look down.
Actually, that almost it's like a memory of me being sold by a guy that, now that I think about it, was looking down at a script.
So there are a lot of well, here's another thing. Let's face this. Buyers with their product that they're looking to buy, 9 times out of 10 are going to have more experience than the salesperson selling it.
Right.
So they already have their script. It may not be written out. The buyers has a script too. It may not be written out, but he knows what to look for. She knows what to look for.
Yeah.
And they have their own way of approaching the sale from the opposite end. But you're not going to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. So get that completely off your plate.
I think,
unless you're a professional con man,
right.
And probably not going to be working in the sales industry if you are, because con men make millions and millions of dollars.
But they don't have
Know what I
repeat
mean?
customers.
And they don't have repeat customers, exactly. But 85% of what you communicate is going to be nonverbal. And they know that. They know they can't listen to what salespeople say, because salespeople will say things that talk them into buying products that they shouldn't be buying.
Mm-hmm.
So they listen with their eyes instead of their ears. And that's a really important point, which is why you always have to be honest. You always have to be genuine. You know? And that's where a lot of young salespeople, I'll say young, that's not the right word, but a lot of new salespeople get into trouble. They all want to present themselves as if they've been doing this for years.
Mm-hmm.
When the truth is, you know, that they don't have any experience to draw on. But they want to so badly they want to be considered, you know, what's the right word, Jess? Seasoned salesperson,
Yeah.
you know? And I always used to tell
They
them,
want to look like experts in their field.
right. And you're not. And they will know that because they know their product that they need better than you do, probably, if it's for their business. You know? So
Right.
I always used to tell them, whether you know it or not, being new and telling that to the client, they'll make more allowances for you. Because if you don't say anything, you're probably going to be nervous because you know you're not a seasoned salesperson.
So I'm going to ask you another question. Let's say salesperson. Couple reasons. One, I don't feel comfortable building rapport. I'm, 22, right out of college. I'm selling to someone who's in their 50s. We don't have anything in common. I don't know how to talk to them. How am I supposed to advise them about their business? And also, I'm like an introvert. I'm not really talkative. I'm not really good at talking to people.
I have this issue currently with CEOs of these large companies. I'm 1 degree removed from them, and I do get into handshake situations with these guys, but I don't have anything to say. I'm afraid to talk. Like, I'm literally still nervous, like around these guys, but they're the ones that make the decisions and decide whether I stick around or not,
And women, I hope.
Yeah, and women.
You're a CEO
I'm thinking of one
yourself.
person in particular that I'm scared. Yeah.
You're a CEO yourself.
Okay. Well, I guess my insecurity comes from the value of my business compared to theirs.
Numbers.
Like, I know that they're way more successful than me.
Well, they have more responsibility. They have more experience in different areas than you.
The company's way more successful than you. The CEO could have got into this job last week, and he's trying to learn it as much as you're trying to learn your own. You don't know. You're prejudging. But there was something important I wanted to say.
Well, so we're coming from that place of insecurity, right? Like, whatever it is, it's, I feel like,
I think it's important to build rapport, but I don't feel comfortable doing it.
Right.
Well, like Jess mentioned before, looking at their LinkedIn or Facebook, looking at the various social sites, you'll find something in which you can genuinely build rapport with them. So that's part of your homework.
Right.
And
True.
Vincent, that's the answer to your question too. If you know you're going to meet a CEO, do your homework.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, be prepared
Yeah,
before the
that's
meeting.
the answer to your question too. I don't care if you're 22. All you have to do is do your homework. Learn about as much about them as you can, and look for that genuine point of rapport that you could have with them. I almost guarantee you that there's something there that is going to attract your attention that you could talk to them about. Genuinely attract your attention.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's something that you thought of, like, maybe he's a coin collector. Maybe she's a stamp collector.
Hey, I saw you had some coins.
Stamp collector.
Is that a original silver dollar?
No, it was something that I really have been thinking for a long time to get involved in. What's your experience? Do you really enjoy it, or do you do it to escape the problems of being a CEO?
Or what got you into that? Yeah. I think what you're saying is acknowledge the experience gap. See that this person could possibly be a mentor to you. What's great in sales is that most CEOs started out as salespeople. A lot of them were in your position. And so they can have empathy towards you, like cold calling, or, you being in the sales situation. And there's nothing wrong with saying, like, this is my first sales job. How am I doing? They'll crumble at your feet. Like, right? And they will give you advice that will be really good, valuable advice.
I remember when I started at Cornerstone. It was my first sales job. And they wanted me to go out and sell health insurance. And I wasn't exactly a fan of insurance, period. And but I was a small businessman myself, and it looked like something that I probably would have considered, if I really needed it. I didn't need it because my wife had insurance through the New York City school system. So, but I said, you know what? I'm going to go around and talk to these store owners and see if they like it. And I would tell them, look, I'm thinking of taking this job as a salesperson, and they tell me that this health insurance is made specifically for people like you, self-employed people. Would you mind taking a quick look at it and tell me what you think? Do you think it's something that, is very sellable in the market compared to the competition? Because I don't know anything about the competition anyway, And around the third or fourth person that I asked that to, the third or fourth store I went into, the guy said, hey, that really looks good, looks pretty good. If you take that job, why don't you come back and see me? And I went, whoa. And that's where the walk and talk was formed. That's where the walk and talk came from. Because there are people who are genuinely interested in what you're selling. And this is, of course, B2B stuff. There's people that are very interested in what you're selling, but they don't even know it exists. And so if you walk in and spend a quick couple of minutes getting their attention, obviously building rapport first, telling them what you're selling, they'll be honest with you. Either they need it or they don't need it. And that's part of what we go through in the first step of the sale, which is the appointment. If you have an appointment with somebody, that's already a sale. The only thing you could do is screw it up. Because people don't have the time to make appointment with people where they don't have a genuine interest or a need. So you're either going to screw up that appointment, that sale, or you're going to capitalize on it. And that's the most important thing about step one. So that goes along with what Jess was saying about, doing your homework.
Yeah, I think, and it's also a good reminder for myself that you're always kind of new, no matter how much you grow as a business owner or a salesperson. Like I'm 10 years experience as a business owner, and I think I'm hot shit. But I see a CEO and I'm scared again. And I don't know how to go back to being the new person because I've achieved, I feel like I've achieved this certain status, and my ego wants to keep that instead of just going back to the basics and being with the CEO and shaking his hand. And even though I don't have anything from research, because I didn't know I was going to meet this person, I can say, look, this is, the first time we're doing a job of this size. Our team is so excited to be here. Just want to thank you. How we're doing so far.
Yeah.
Like I should have said that now that
Right.
But at the time I was scared and I wanted to act like I knew everything and that we were on the same level when we're not.
I know we're doing well. I don't need you to tell me.
Yeah. Like, oh, we do this all the time, Meanwhile, I'm shitting my pants because like this is literally 10 times bigger a sale than we've ever done before. So, that's something I feel like I need to remind myself is breaking through the ceiling of, okay, now I'm a director of sales, or now I'm I'm running a team of people and I'm an executive. You can still, when you recognize that you're trying to break through to another level, you can still go back to being new.
Yeah. Vince, you can say, hey, I'm new to this CEO thing. My company's growing.
Yeah, right.
What are your best tips for me? Like, what are your best tips for leading a company? Like use them as a mentor. I think my idea about like CEOs in particular, my understanding of them changed when the head of I'll say it's Cutco because he won't mind me saying, the head of the guy who started the Cutco sales force in the 70s, which is a very large, still running sales force, commission only, right? Like everyone's bought Cutco knives. They're still selling them, direct sales.
Yep.
He was on my email list.
Mom bought 2 sets.
What? Mom got 2 sets. She got sold 2 sets
from the same person.
They use a similar sales process. They get referrals. They go to they show the person. They make them. Anyway, they do the whole presentation. Pretty much follows the 8 steps. Yeah. And he reached out and he said, I'm working on this. I didn't know who he was until into the conversation. He said, I'm working on this project and I really like your opinion on it. And then when I found, I was like, why does he want my opinion? This guy has had all the success, like he knows what he's doing. I said, I'm really impressed and humbled that you asked my opinion. Like what? He's like, oh, I always like want to surround myself with a council and get opinions from all different kinds of people. And he saw me as someone who was more connected to a younger generation and he wanted my opinion. So I think like successful people are humble. And they also know they could learn something from everyone. So we assume they're on if we put them on a pedestal, we assume they're on the pedestal. Yeah. But they don't, if they are a successful CEO, they're probably not thinking of themselves that way. And everybody has imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. The higher up you go, the bigger it is. So the president of the United States doesn't really think they're fit to run the country, but they're going to do it anyway and act as if. And it's the same for any, they're going to fake their way through the areas that they don't feel strong in.
Until they become the president of the United States.
Yeah, well, I'm saying even the president of the United States has imposter syndrome.
I agree.
I don't have imposter syndrome. I would never have that.
And I think you'll find out that if you judge somebody to be truly successful successful people are very giving. They love to mentor people. They may not have a whole lot of time to do it, but a simple question when you meet them, about what could I do to further my business, or what's the main thing you've learned in your, in your ladder of success that you've been on. They'd be happy to answer that question. Doesn't take a long time to answer, and it's insightful, and I kind of like this kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. So I think we can sum up the answer to that question with people are people, no matter what age, experience are. Your human to human connection is what's important. And they will have empathy for you if you allow them to. If you show vulnerability, ask for their opinion, see them as a possible mentor and someone who can give you advice. And also will impress them with your professionalism at such a young age or at the start of your career or what have you. They're going to hopefully say, like, I know you're going to go far just because you asked me that question.
Yeah, that's great.
Problem solved.
For me, at least. Yeah, I wish I did that. I'm so like,
Well, you're the present customer.
it's yeah, I should have done that. Okay, so we can wrap up this rapport building session. Jess, I think you can kind of review.
Yep. So we talked about step 1 in the sales conversation, which is build rapport. And the reason why we do that is to build trust, build credibility, help take the customer's guard down so that they can be open to answering questions honestly to help solve their problem. And we talked about why some people avoid building rapport and how we can overcome those natural tendencies to want to keep our own guard up as salespeople. So my challenge to you, listener, is to make sure that next time you get on a phone call with anyone, definitely in the next sales conversation, you started out by building rapport and talk about anything but the business at hand. Show that you care. Show them that you know them. And the rest of the sales process will be much easier going forward.
Well, thank you very much, Jessica. All right, that wraps it up for Sales is Live podcast.